Hey everyone, so I'm using a throwaway account right now because what has happened is crazy. And I don't want any of this on my main account simply because of how negative it is. Anyway, to begin with, I am a 30-year-old woman. I've been married for 4 years and recently my husband and I brought our first child into the world. We have been together for a very long time, almost 12 years, and we've been friends for even longer than that. So naturally, it means that we have known each other's families for quite some time. And I get along well with most of his family, but unfortunately, like a lot of other people, I don't get along well with his mom. For the sake of the post, let's call her Yana. So, Yana and I never got along. She was not even very nice to me when I was younger. And she always seems to have some sort of problem with everyone, especially if they're a woman. I'm not even joking. She does not get along well with one single female member of the family. She doesn't like me. She doesn't like my mom. She doesn't like her sister-in-law. And she never even liked her own mother-in-law, even though she was quite a nice and admirable lady who was always kind to her, regardless of her behavior. Bluntly speaking, I have no idea how my father-in-law puts up with this woman. But anyway, I kind of made my peace with it because I know that she can't exactly do anything about the situation. And whenever she has had anything to say about me, my husband has always been there to defend me, so I don't really care. After my husband made it very clear that he was serious about me, she started restricting herself to either passing backhanded comments or subtle remarks or just avoiding and ignoring me altogether. And I did not give her the satisfaction of getting a reaction out of me at any point in time. The only glue that has kept my husband from cutting his mom off altogether in recent times has been his father and sister, and honestly, I understand that. Anyway, I got pregnant recently, and Yana started being slightly nicer to me, but even then, I didn't really trust her much, so I would be nice to her, but I didn't allow her to get too close to me because, like I said, after how she's treated me for so many years, I didn't think that she could change just because of the pregnancy. And I think I was right about that. Basically, we've had a cold relationship in short, and most of it has been her fault, which is why I find it so strange that she actually genuinely expected my husband and me to name our firstborn after her. And she literally threw a temper tantrum at the hospital and got herself kicked out because of her behavior, which is what I'm going to talk about. So, a couple of days ago, I went into labor and my husband rushed me to the hospital. It had already been decided that only our parents would be there, nobody else, in order to keep everything less crowded. My parents arrived on time. So did my father-in-law, but it was just Yana who was late. I found out about that later on, and apparently she was late because she was having brunch with friends. So she showed up 45 minutes after everyone else. I'm not saying I care, but if she genuinely cared as much as she was trying to show, then she should have been on time. I mean, if I was expecting a baby to be named after me, I would at least be on time for the birth of the baby. Anyway, all of them were there throughout the whole duration of me being in labor. And when the baby was born, everyone was happy and immediately fell in love with my daughter. But that did not last long, because soon enough it was time to name the baby. And my husband and I had already spoken about it, and we had decided that we would name our daughter after his grandmother. His dad's mom, Jana's mother-in-law, who she did not like, was a wonderful lady, and I had the good fortune of knowing her until she passed away recently. It happened in my second trimester, and she passed away peacefully in her sleep due to old age. My husband loved his grandma and he wanted to pay a tribute to her by naming his daughter after her. since she had been really excited to meet the baby. But unfortunately, that could never be. So we had decided on her name for our baby. And literally everyone was touched by this gesture, like any normal person would be. But as soon as Jana realized that we were not naming the baby after her, she started throwing a temper tantrum right in the hospital, accusing us of trying to erase her from our baby's life already. And she wasn't subtle about it at all. Like I said, she flew into a rage and started screaming at her and said that she had been nice to me for so many months and tried her best to be close to me because she truly believed that we would name the baby after her. And she had even expressed this wish of hers to my husband, and he had apparently committed to it already. So now she couldn't believe that we would backstab her like this and end up naming the baby after somebody she hated. My husband and I were quite confused because he did not remember promising her anything of the sort. So she brought up a conversation that they had had a couple of months ago, and my husband made it very clear that even in that conversation, he had said that he would think about it, but he had told her he had already made up his mind about another name, so she shouldn't be holding out hope. He let her down gently, but she was not clever enough to get the hint. And that was not really our problem. And after giving birth to a baby, I just didn't want this sort of drama around. So I asked her to leave nicely, which was quite difficult for me to do because I was quite exhausted. And I didn't have the patience to deal with this. And on top of that, she had made it sound like she had been acting nice to me all these months just because she wanted the baby to be named after herself, which was another story altogether. Anyway, I asked her to leave, but she didn't. And she said that she was not going anywhere until we changed our minds and decided to name the baby after her because she had earned it. I don't know why she believed that, but it was too much for me to take in, and I really wanted to scream at her, but I just ended up crying at that point. I had had enough, and I couldn't deal with this anymore. But even before my husband could deal with any of this, the authorities got involved. Obviously, the hospital staff are not going to let a woman screaming in our faces get away with that kind of thing. And a bunch of nurses and doctors and some staff had seen her and heard her because she was pretty loud. And even though we had a private suite, it doesn't matter because she was disrupting the peace of the whole floor. She was asked to leave politely at first, but when she refused, they called in security to escort her out. All this time, I was just so exhausted that I don't remember most of it, but it was a blur of things. Later on, my husband told me that because of her behavior, the cops had to be called on her, and he had decided to file a restraining order against her because it wasn't just her behavior that was concerning. It was also a bunch of things that she was yelling about while she was being taken away. He didn't tell me exactly what it was because he didn't want me to be concerned, and I'm happy that he didn't. But all I know for a fact is that she was saying threatening things against me, and he was not going to take that. So that's what happened, and it's been a few days, and he has already filed for a restraining order against her. Hopefully it'll come through, but right now, what I'm worried about is the fact that this might end up ruining my relationship with my in-laws altogether. Because last evening, I received an email from Jana apologizing for everything that she put me through, saying that she was really sorry and that she was willing to do anything it took to reverse our decision of filing for a protective order against her. She said she had just lost her temper and acted in a way that she shouldn't have, and for that, she was truly sorry, and that she wants me to forgive her now. This was last evening, but I pretended I didn't see that message because then I think the onus would be on me to forgive her and somehow make all of it work again. And I don't have the energy for any of that, so I just ignored it. But today in the morning, my father-in-law called me up and he practically started begging me to reconsider my stand on everything. and convince my husband to do the same. Because apparently, Yana is miserable about what happened and she wants to apologize to us from the bottom of her heart. She's trying to convince me that she's really sorry and that she really wants to be a part of her granddaughter's life. And she doesn't want to screw this up, so he wants us to just give her one chance to fix things. I told him that I would think about it, but I honestly don't want to. And I haven't even told my husband about it because I don't want him to reconsider anything. I want him to go through with the restraining order, and I'm feeling very guilty about it. I feel like I'm overreacting, and I really want to confirm whether this is a normal reaction or not, because right now in my head, I feel like it is. But then again, I just gave birth a couple of days back, and I don't know, I might be over emotional and hormonal, so I can't trust my judgment. I don't want to ruin anything, so I just want to know if I'm doing the right thing right now. AITA for wanting my husband to get a restraining order against my mother-in-law? Update 1. Hi, so thank you to everybody who commented on my post and gave me advice. I spoke to my parents about all of this as well, and I did what everyone advised me to do. I spoke to my husband about it. He had no idea that all of this was happening. He didn't know that Yana had apologized and my father-in-law had called me up to change my mind and get me to change his mind somehow. When I told him all of this, I thought that he would soften up towards his parents because that was the reaction that I was afraid of. However, that did not happen at all. And in fact, he was quite infuriated when I told him about all of it. He said that he was not going to change his mind, especially after everything that was done at the hospital that day. He said that his dad had no right calling me up and trying to convince me to talk to him about this when he had made it very clear that he had made his decision and he was not going to be persuaded otherwise. He told me that I don't have to worry about any of this, that he's going to deal with his parents and I don't have to talk to them. He also told me that I don't have to worry about me ruining his relationship with his parents or me ruining my relationship with my in-laws, because after the things that were said by Yana, he knows that she ruined things for herself, and I don't have to feel responsible for any of it. So after speaking to him about all this, I could finally feel a little bit of relief. Anyway, I really wanted to know what exactly Yana had said, and I feel like now I could take it. A couple of days earlier, maybe not, but I was curious, so I made him tell me, and basically, while she was being dragged away by security, she had started screaming about how she was going to make sure that I suffer the consequences of what I had done. She was raving about how she had been so nice to me for the past couple of months just because she expected something out of this, but now it was all pointless, and she started accusing my husband of turning against her and getting brainwashed and manipulated by me. And then she said she was going to make sure that I didn't get out of this scot-free. That was really concerning, and everyone heard that, so I think a restraining order should be fair enough. And after she said things like that, I don't know how she was expecting me to forgive that, even though I didn't really hear any of it directly. I don't even understand why my father-in-law is so desperate to get me to forgive her, but whatever. I spoke to my husband about it, and he said he's going to deal with it. So I think that's all sorted out now. Besides, I have more important things to think about, like my daughter. I'm not going to let any of these things bother me anymore because I trust my husband, and I know that if he has promised me that he's going to deal with it and he is going to make sure that I don't have to worry about any of it, then I know that he'll live up to it. Right now, all I have to do is care for my daughter, and I'm just going to cut out all negativity from my life. I don't need this kind of crap right now. I don't even know why I was getting so worked up about all of it. I think I'm done caring about what my in-laws are saying now onwards. Update 2. Okay, hi everyone. So I know it's been quite a while since I last posted. Almost 2 months, but a couple of weeks back, we finally got the restraining order against my mother-in-law. She was not happy about it, obviously, but neither was my father-in-law. In the past couple of weeks, he has tried to convince my husband many times to forgive and forget, but that's not happening. He's even tried to talk to me, but every time he tried to do that, my husband would just intervene and tell him that talking to me is not going to change anything. And if anything, it's going to make things worse. My father-in-law has visited us at least once every week in the past couple of months, ever since my daughter was born, mostly to hang out with her and spend time with her, but also to talk about the situation with Yana. And we have made it very clear that we don't want to talk about it. There is no discussion to be heard. Yet, he doesn't give up. It's been quite annoying. But now that it's done, there's nothing that he can do about it. In the past few days, he has visited once, and he was quite civil. But there was definitely a marked change in his behavior. He didn't even spend as much time as he usually does. But we're not going to hold that against him. At the end of the day, he's showing up for us. He's even babysat a couple of times, but we have made it very clear that Yana is not in our home, and as long as he respects that, we're cool. Anyway, that's the situation right now. And I think it's going to take some time for him to come to terms with the fact that this is all done now. But once he does, it'll be fine. We really don't want to lose them, honestly. That's why we're not pushing things with him, because other than his relationship with Yana, he's a perfectly stand-up person and a really good grandpa. We don't want our daughter to lose that. So I think this is the only way to deal with the situation at the moment. Honestly, I'm just relieved that the restraining order is done with. So that's not weighing on my conscience anymore. Yana has tried to talk to me several times in the past couple of months, but I've always avoided her and ignored her. And as far as I know, even my husband is not speaking to her anymore. The restraining order is for 2 years. So let's see how the situation plays out. I'm hoping that all the family drama will blow over as soon as possible, but until then, I'm glad to be away from the woman. The only relationship that has been affected by any of this is the one with my sister-in-law, and I'm pretty glad about it because we still get along pretty well, and she's made it very clear she doesn't care about whatever's happening outside of our relationship. That's pretty much it, and hopefully I won't have any other updates for a while if everything goes well. Update 3. Hey guys, so I had said that if everything goes well, I might not be coming back here for another update for quite a while. As you guys can see, that clearly went down the drain. It's just been a month since my last update, and already Yana has lost her mind. I literally have no idea what's wrong with her, but today she showed up at our house demanding to see her granddaughter, saying that she will not be kept apart from the baby anymore, and that as the grandmother she has every right to visit and we cannot stop her from doing that. Except that we really can. We literally have a restraining order against her. She has no right to show up at our house today. Thankfully, my husband happened to be at home. He hadn't yet left for work, and I've been working from home anyway. But if he hadn't been here, I would have been caught completely off guard, alone at home with our baby. Anyway, I was lucky that he was at home because otherwise I don't know how I would have dealt with the situation. Obviously, he called the cops immediately, and I probably would have done the same, but I just would have been a lot more nervous. And while we were waiting for the cops to arrive, he did not open the door, and she just kept banging against it. At one point in time, I think she slammed her body against it. And like I said, I fear that she's losing her mind or something. It was honestly quite scary, and the police took their own sweet time in arriving. She just kept banging against the door for several minutes, and then she started throwing rocks at the door from the gravel. I have no idea what she was even trying to accomplish by doing all of that, but it was just really scary and nerve-wracking. Anyway, finally the cops did arrive, and I'm guessing that charges will be pressed against her. She violated the restraining order, and she's going to have to face up to the consequences of it. By now, obviously, my father-in-law and my sister-in-law have also found out about it, and I thought that my father-in-law would be mad about us calling the cops, but instead he decided to apologize to us. He said he had no idea that all of this was happening. He had been out with his friends when Jana took it upon herself to come and visit us by herself. She didn't have any sort of discussion with him or whatever. So things were pretty bad. And after hearing us out regarding whatever had happened, he said that he had no idea that she would do something so crazy, and actually apologized and broke down. He was literally that upset about all this. And honestly, it makes sense. All this while he was the only person who had been trying to hold the family together, while Jana was trying to do her best to damage everything. Even when he was trying to convince us to drop the restraining order against Jana, he was fighting with her because he wanted her to understand that whatever she had said and done was really wrong. And he was the one who had convinced her to apologize. But in reality, she hadn't been inclined towards apologizing at all. She thought that whatever she had said and done was perfectly justified just because she believed that I didn't like her. And so she thought that that gave her the license to behave however she wanted. That's not how things work, though. And for the past couple of months, my father-in-law had been fighting against all the odds to keep the family together. He could understand that whatever we were doing, it was all reactionary. But he was trying to fix things with Jana as well, and was trying to get her to be more reasonable. In fact, he was a major part of the reason why she had not shown up to bother us earlier, because he had made her promise that she wouldn't do anything stupid, and yet today she broke the promise and she turned up at our place and got herself into a lot of trouble. Honestly, the only person that I feel bad for right now is my father-in-law, because I can see that he is at his wit's end, and I can understand that he doesn't want to leave his wife, somebody he's been with for so many years and has raised 2 kids with. But other than that, I really can't see a solution to any of this. I can't imagine why she would do something like this, why she's been acting like this, and why she would end up isolating the one person who actually cared more than anybody else for her. Even my sister-in-law doesn't want to talk to her mom right now. So that's where things are with her. She doesn't even have anybody else to blame for all of this, apart from herself. Let me make it clear, I don't feel bad for her at all, but I feel bad for the people around her, including my husband. I can't imagine how hard her behavior must make things for her own family. I just wish that she could care about these people and tone it down. But well, the damage is already done now. Now we can only wait and watch, because she has sealed her own fate with her behavior. But I'll just keep hoping and praying, not for her, but for my husband and his family. And maybe things will turn out better. I don't know how. But I just hope that something happens to make this all right. Update 4. Hi, so it's been a couple of weeks since my last update, and long story short, Jana got off with several hours of community service and a huge fine for violating the restraining order. Well, that might seem like a small punishment, but in reality, it's much worse. She has had to move out of her house. My father-in-law made her. She's staying with her brother right now, and even though that's a temporary arrangement, I don't know what's going to happen. To be fair, nobody does. All we know for a fact is that my father-in-law and Gianna are taking a break. After so many years of marriage, I don't know what it means to take a break. But I know that things are not good between the two of them. Honestly, I feel bad for my father-in-law. I know that he loves her, and I know that this must be very difficult for him. But he's doing it, nevertheless. And he has his kids by his side, so I think that counts for something. In fact, we've all been there for him, including my baby daughter, and I know he appreciates it. I don't think that they're gonna get a divorce or anything. They might just end up separating for a while, but I know that my father-in-law is considering the idea of going for marriage counseling, and I really appreciate that because at least they are acknowledging that there is a problem here. Don't get me wrong. The only reason I care about any of this is for my father-in-law, and also because of my husband, because he cares about all this. His family is important to him, and by extension, so important to me as well. So I don't care what happens with Yana. She doesn't deserve my concern. I just hope that she learns a lesson from all this, and she learns that she can't just behave however she wants to, with whoever she wants to, and then get away with it. That's absolutely not how things work. And she has to take accountability for her actions. And I hope that she comes to her senses and apologizes. Again, I don't want that for myself because I don't really care for her. So I don't care about her apology either. But just to maintain the peace of the family, I hope that she does something about whatever she's put us through, especially my husband. I know that he's very torn up and upset about everything that his family has been through. And I know that my sister-in-law and my father-in-law feel the same way. And there is one person who's responsible for all of this, and that's Yana. So she can just make people a little less angry by acting like a normal, rational, reasonable human being. I just hope that that's what she chooses to do in the long run. Update 5. So it's been a year since my last update, and Yana is no longer a part of our family. She's been cut off by everyone, literally everyone we know. She refused to change her ways, and she thinks that her recent diagnosis with regards to having bipolar disorder is a defense for everything that she has done in the past. But it's not. It's just an explanation, but she still needs to own up for everything that she's done and apologize for it. In the past year, my father-in-law has given her several chances to change, to become a better person, and they have gone for marriage counseling for a few months intermittently, but nothing worked. She's set in her ways, and recently, my father-in-law also gave up on her. He was the last one to do so, and I can't say that I'm surprised. This was bound to happen at some point or the other, and I feel bad for him, but that's how it is. My husband hasn't been on speaking terms with his mom for quite some time now, more than a year. My sister-in-law, less than that, but yeah, none of them speak to their mom anymore. My daughter is a year old, and I'm really happy that she's doing so well. She's growing into a beautiful baby, and she's got nothing to do with Yana. She'll never know her either. And the only person that Yana can blame for all of this is herself. So I hope that she can live with it. She has alienated everyone, including her husband, the one man who had been standing by her for so long. It's a sad, sad life, but it's her life at the end of the day. And if this is what she's chosen for herself, then so be it. My father-in-law is not going to file for a divorce. They're just going to be staying separately from now on. Thankfully, he has all of us by his side, so I hope that's enough for him. As for my family and I, we are doing really well. We're very happy, and that's all I could ask for. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.